We are delighted now to have, for the first time in this show, Mike Gingell. He is Oakland County Commissioner of the First District, and he joins us now via Zoom. Commissioner, welcome to the MegaCast. Good to have you with us today.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. It's great to be here and almost good afternoon, but I guess it's still good morning.
It's just good to be alive, healthy. Making it through every day. I see you're doing. Look, you're happy. You're smiling right here. And where I
Yeah.
always ask everybody because we're doing this Zoom thing. It's kind of weird, right? So we always like to find out from the very beginning. Where are you? What are you doing? What's your environment? And how are you and everyone around you feeling?
Well, I'm working out of my house. I'm fortunate to have an office area in the house. So full disclaimer, but working at home with kids and dogs and everything else. So there's no promises that there won't be a disruption. But overall, everybody's healthy. Everybody's doing fine. I think we've all got a little bit of cabin fever, and we're ready to get out and start engaging with the community and people and everything else again to the extent it's reasonable and safe. But yes, we're all doing great, and thanks for asking.
Well, and thank you for joining us. So this whole thing is wrought with challenges. We ended our conversation just a moment ago with Dr. Hill talking about money. Let's get the money thing off the table right at the very beginning of this conversation today. From an Oakland County perspective, you think of counties around the state. When you think of Oakland County, you think of a county that has traditionally kept its fiscal house in pretty clear order. Through a crisis like this, are we still in good shape? And we're going to have fewer dollars. What's that look like, and what kind of planning is going on for the coming months and year?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I would say overall the financial state of Oakland County is steady. Um, I believe that it's probably wise for us to be looking at as we go into our budget planning process, which we have begun. We'll adopt a budget in the fall, in September for 2021 and beyond. But one of the things I've suggested to the new administration, which is Dave Coulter and his administration, is that while we certainly have ideas about where we're at and what we need to do, it's also prudent to go back and look at history. When we went through the financial crisis in '08, '09, and 10, and we had record foreclosures and unemployment, we still had to build a budget and we still spent money for public services. So let's also use that as a guideline and go back in time and look at what the departmental budgets were from a total amount compared to what they are today. Let's look at revenue and the amounts of revenue that were coming into the county amidst foreclosures and foregone property taxes. And let's have some scenario planning, just like in business, in the private sector where I work, we have a base budget and we have a best case, worst case. And you certainly are able to then think through a number of scenarios that give you options to plan so that you're prepared for what may come.
And I think about all that, and then I think about the additional expense of getting through this crisis. The health department is spending more money. The county is at the epicenter here of the distribution of needed items. That's got to cost more money. Every department, I'm sure, in the county is spending money to deal with this crisis. And then, in addition, the county's done a beautiful job coming up with grant programs to the extent that you can, so that we've got those dollars that are going out to local businesses as well. So you got all that in the contrast in the environment where we're going to have fewer dollars. You know what? I always wanted to be a county commissioner, but not right now. You could do that job.
Well, I'm I'm in my 14th year, so my seventh term. And the good news is we have an experienced board that's been through a lot of things. And in regards to spending, yes, department spending is up. We spent about roughly $20 million to date on COVID-19 activities. It's been contained within the existing budget. And then I guess depends how you look at it. The good news is that we just received the CARES Act funding from the federal government in the form of a little over $200 million. So we'll be able to replace what we had spent already, recoup those funds that were in our original budget with the CARES money. The concerning thing is, just my opinion, the government can't continue to print money and continue to prop up the economy and businesses forever. So the reality is we're taking the money from the federal government. We're going to use it accordingly. But we really got to start moving forward with getting the economy reopened, getting things stabilized again, and really getting people back to work. Because if that, in my opinion, if that doesn't start happening fairly soon, we're going to create an economic crisis that I won't compare it to COVID-19 because it can't be compared, but it'll be catastrophic in its own right. And it will take a long time to recover from. In fact, if you look at the SEVs, the taxable value of homes, we've essentially just recovered from the 08, 09 levels. So this isn't something from a county government standpoint and an economic standpoint that, you flip a switch and you're right back to it. It takes a while to recover. And the biggest thing I'm concerned about is getting our overall economy moving again.
Well, that's well said, Mike Gingell, and it doesn't really matter where you are on the political spectrum. I think everybody would echo that sentiment, and it's just how we untangle this mess. It's not easy. I don't care who you are. There's no easy solution, and everyone's going to have their own perspective, so we'll get through that. But I just want to go back to one thing you were talking about that I appreciate you bringing up, and that is property values. And we talked to Steve Kaplan a moment ago, the township supervisor in West Bloomfield, and a lot of our local municipalities talking about those for a minute. They're a big chunk of their funding is as a result of property taxes. So, do you have any thoughts on on what might happen with property? I mean, I'm not asking you to look into a crystal ball, but that's something we got to be careful about because we could very easily see declining property values in all of our communities in Oakland County.
Well, I think that's tied directly to what happens with the economy. So, my understanding is that the real estate market's roughly down about 8% year over year, year to date. So 20 compared to 19. So things are still selling. There's still buyers out there. That's the good news. And with the real estate market opening back up in Michigan, meaning the governor loosening her orders on those restrictions, I think you'll see more activity. But this isn't necessarily about today. This is about 2 to 3 quarters out. And what happens with the economy 2 to 3 quarters out? Because if it continues to stagnate and or decline and companies start laying off more people and calling them back and not calling them back, this is where you're going to start seeing those home values start to depress. You're going to start seeing lower amounts because the demand isn't going to be there. And you may, unfortunately, see foreclosures starting to rise, hopefully not at a significant rate. It's those things that are going to drive down and depress the home values.
And there's only so much we can do to legislate ourselves out of this dilemma. The health situation is going to be the health situation, and Democrats, Republicans, geniuses, dummies, nobody knows, where we're going to be in a couple of months. So you said a mouthful, and I appreciate your honest perspective because I think you're right. We can kind of see what's going to happen in a month or two. We're going to see these businesses come open. Some people want to have them open now. Some people, maybe want to wait a little longer. But either way, we're moving in that direction. But if we run into some health issues, things could get very, very complicated as we have to shut things back down and open them up. Everyone's got their fingers crossed that this economy is going to boom back. So let's talk about that for just a minute and stay optimistic. Maybe we'll get some better medications. Maybe we'll get some better vaccines. Things bounce back. Is Oakland County doing everything that it can to encourage and support the businesses getting back on track?
Yeah, I think from my standpoint, I think so. I know there's still a lot of frustration out there from business owners. I've heard a lot from them. But I would say I will give County Executive Coulter credit. He has formed a task force. I am participating on it, and they're talking about a lot of the right things. So hopefully we'll be able to have the speed of implementation. And to me, the biggest thing is, and some of it's philosophical. So my personal philosophy is, you got to let business owners be entrepreneurs. They didn't rely on the government telling them how to start their companies, how to fund their companies, and how to manage their companies. But right now they're I guess reliant on the government telling them what they can and can't do. Now that's not to say that you need to have a free-for-all. I think the government's role is to provide some guidelines and potentially to provide some initial restart funding, but it's not to subsidize the economy. It's not to get in the way of capitalists and entrepreneurs. It's to let the business people, you know, develop ideas of how to change. It's going to be a new normal, right? But anxiety and uncertainty breeds creativity and innovation. And that's where our lives. We just can't throttle it. Now, we have to balance that with the public health safety. No one's living in a fantasy. We all understand the situation we have, but you also have to be thinking forward. And when you look at the numbers in Oakland County, it appears we reached the peak roughly mid-April. So if you start thinking about end of May, June, and being on the backside of that curve, what can we be planning for and enabling now so that it's able to take off at that time?
Mike Gingell, I hate to interrupt you because I am loving this conversation, but we ran up against the wall here on our program today. So
All right.
let's carry it on another day. I just want to say one thing really quick as we close out our show today. I am just reassured that you and Dave Coulter's office, the Republicans and the Democrats, are working together in the county, and we just need more of that. And together we will find a way to get through all this. Thanks for joining us. Sorry I got to zip along. Good to have you on the program today.
No problem. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
All right, we'll do it again real soon.